This video... No, how do you start?
It's horrible, isn't it?
Hello everyone. For this video, we're gonna... That sounds cringe as fuck. You alright everyone? Look at the camera. You alright everyone? For this video, we're gonna... For fuck's sake. Right. For this video, we're going to do the top 5 introductory films to Korean cinema. If you're into the cinema in general, it's probably going to be a rather cliche list. But I think I've got a lot of followers and a lot of friends who won't watch Korean cinema. Or not they won't, they don't really know where to start. And a lot of my favourite Korean films are quite obscure or odd in nature. And I don't think they're necessarily good introductory films. So we're going to go through probably the most cliche bunch, but they're a good start if you're looking for somewhere to begin. So we'll start with
Parasite.
Certainly the most cliche Korean film you could come up with this year and last year, because the hype around Parasite was massive.
I mean, it got an Oscar.
Several.
Well, yeah, a few.
Bong Joon-ho, I've been following him and probably his biggest mega fan going since I was
Since you
probably
were a kid.
Yeah, since I was a kid essentially. I'd always hype him up, and I had pictures of him that I'd bought on eBay. I was cringe. It's like a proper super fan.
Oh.
And it was really weird to sit in a cinema and see Parasite sold out, one of his films in the UK, no doubt, a subtitled film, a Korean film, which was amazing.
It was a really good film. It's not overrated in any way.
And I could have put a bet on, and I knew he was going to get the Oscar, and I said it to you, and it was like something silly odds, and I didn't do it. And I gamble on all sorts of shit, but I didn't gamble on that. So
this is a good introductory film because it's quite obviously very popular. It is very complicated, and he always does kind of like a social commentary. All his films are like a bit of a social commentary on like class systems. So they're always, even his films that are a bit like chiller, like a bit more of a comedy.
they all have social impact. Even things like Snowpiercer, the separation between people on the train, and there's all sorts.
Barking Dogs Never Bite.
Yeah, they're all stuck in
that's just a dark comedy, but still it's got those social implications. It's a brilliant film. Like you just never can guess what's going to happen.
The beauty with Parasite, I think, is that it has the Korean quirks that make South Korean cinema so beautiful, but it will appease a Western audience at the same time. And I think that's why it's probably the best film to start with Korean cinema.
I think one thing you have to know if you want to get into watching Korean cinema is they never promise you a happy ending. You never know how it's going to end. They don't care about ripping your heart out. So I feel like that is something they do that really keeps you gripped.
Not necessarily with the case of Parasite, but they do love the brutal realism. Which is probably why I'm a bigger fan, because
it's always realistic. They won't just have like a magic fairy tale fix for everything. They'll end it very real, which is brilliant.
South Koreans do revenge and thrillers the best in the world, I think. Brutal revenge especially.
Yes.
Right, what's next?
Next,
probably the most cliche, or it would have been before Parasite, arguably still is Old Boy. If you think of Korean cinema, it's probably Old Boy that comes into your mind. It's that fly.
It's got an American remake of it, so that's all you know. It's a bit of a cliche
exactly.
one.
Parasite will be... Oh, God, I hope not. Imagine an American remake of Parasite.
It doesn't need to be done just, I don't get it when people just won't, read subtitles.
What I love about Old Boy is the fact that it's a really odd, quirky film. And
it's very dark themes. I feel like a lot of directors would delve into.
It became this massive international hit, and I think that's brilliant, that. It's not predictable. It's not Western.
Oh no, it's not predictable.
It's not Westernized. It's nothing.
I feel like watching this, I was like, "What the fuck?" about 10 times.
Yeah, exactly. It's just brilliant.
What is going on? But it is really.
I'm not going to speak about the plot again in any of these because it will ruin things. If it's introductory cinema, there's no point, because if you're interested in this video, you're not going to have seen them, I'd imagine, or you're just listening to us because you love us, one or the other, which I wouldn't blame you for. But yeah, Old Boy, you've probably heard of the name a million times. Watch it, it's some brilliant. There's a fight scene in particular, the choreographer, amazing.
Even if you've seen the remake,
fuck the remake.
Still give this a watch.
Remake's fucking awful. Although I didn't mind the casting of Josh Brolin, I thought that was decent, but the rest... Why watch it when you can watch that? That's the way I look at it.
Okay, right. Another more kind of in recent years film that's done quite well is Train to Busan.
I'd say now perhaps the third most cliche, although it was fairly recent again.
It's a zombie film, but I hate zombie films personally. But I actually really enjoyed this one. I liked how they did it. I think it's because in a lot of Korean films, rather than focus on the bigger picture, they tend to focus on like kind of a smaller group. So rather than being like all like epic, like what's going on with the world, it's more like what's happening with these people on this train.
Stephen King said something along those lines. He said you need to think of, again, you'd have to put the quote up. He said you need to think of something that catastrophically affects the world, then focus on a group of people and how it affects them. And that's exactly what this does. And that's why there's this emotional attachment with the characters.
Yeah.
I am one of the few people who thinks that film's slightly overrated. I don't think it's as good as... I think there's a lot of Korean films, probably because of the genre and what it is, it got this massive success. That helps. But I think there's a lot of South Korean movies that are a lot better than that film, and most people don't even know they exist. Horrors, even.
Well, I bet, you know what? I do think in general it's not the best Korean film I've watched, but I think what makes me really like it is the fact that it's done a zombie film that I've liked.
Do you know what? Yeah, saying that, it's probably... I'm not a big fan of the zombie genre, so it's probably my favourite zombie film, actually.
Yeah, that's what I agree. Like, it's not the best Korean film. Like, I wouldn't really go to recommend this, but if you ask for a zombie film, I'd be like, that's the best zombie film I've seen.
Yeah. Because what I like about it is you could replace the zombies with anything if you're not into zombies. Like, you can make them vampires or something, and it'd still be a great film.
Yeah, because of the characters.
So it isn't reliant upon being a zombie fan.
Yeah. And I think that's...
Maybe that's a stupid thing to say, but I like that. The characters are strong and the emotional impact's very strong. What's next? Probably the fourth most cliche, and before Parasite and Train to Busan came on the scene, this probably would have been the next one. I can't believe now, it was the other day, it's 10 years old. I remember when this came out. When it came out, it had a massive impact on me, and I thought, this is just brilliant. It's just
very dark. This is a revenge film.
The two leads bounce off each other. The two of South Korea's most famous actors, both popped up in Western movies, American films, regularly. It's just brilliant. Imagine Silence of the Lambs on acid. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. It never like lets up. It doesn't just follow the typical formula of like incident, problem, resolution. There's a lot of back and forth and like what's gonna happen next. And again, it's very dark. I feel like Korean stuff, it's always like whatever genre they're doing, they make it very like dark and not like the way you know what English films, they can be quite gritty.
When I get out of here, I'm gonna put one right through your nut. If you get out, you ginger cunt.
I feel like Koreans can go quite dark, but it's more of a polished dark than a gritty dark.
The majority of British films and South Korean films capture more of the tone of something they're aiming for specifically, and you have to
capture more emotion.
You have to delve into like the art house side of American cinema generally, I think, to capture the same vibe that British and more to the point South Korean movies tend to.
Because if a big film like this was made in America, it'd just be Hollywoodified, whereas this still has that kind of like, it's a big film, but it's still got like that darkness and like you feel the emotion.
And that's the brilliance of a lot of South Korean cinema. They can have massive budgets. They can have, you know, everything, the biggest actors, but they still have this like deep, like underlying art house style behind them.
And the actors are never lazy. They're never like, you can tell they're never just taking a paycheck.
Yeah.
I feel like they always give 110% and like really go for the emotion.
Yeah.
And that, like, I think I've cried at every Korean film I've watched, honestly.
So, like, the directors, man, I was going through between a lot of these. You've got Ji-woon Kim, Park Chan-wook. There was a lot that these and Bong Joon-ho, obviously, they've come up now. All three of them have come up, haven't they? Am I mistaken? No, they have, yeah. All three have come up, so... you know, they're the biggest names. If you're also interested in other Korean films, check out their filmography generally.
Yeah.
The last on the list, I think, is becoming much more well known as time goes on, is New World. I
I really enjoyed this one. It's a bit of like a gangster cop film.
It is a gangster. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
brilliant gangster. It's actually my favourite gangster film now, with Goodfellas.
You know what? I loved it, and I loved the ending. I did. I wasn't like that in the mood to watch this film, but Taylor put it on, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. Thinking, you know, it's just gonna be another like one of like the Korean films we watch, because it is like, you know, they do a lot of this sort of style stuff. But it was just on another level. It was so good.
Twists, turns, corruption, and a massive cast again of mega actors. And again, no one dials it in.
I feel like I always love all the characters, even the evil ones, even the proper horrible bastards in films. I always like them, and I think that's a great villain, or that's
the character
thing,
development.
Like,
they've all got their own reasons.
Good.
It's brilliant. And
they never don't give a backstory. Like I feel like on all the Korean films I've watched, they never cheap out and just throw in like.
You know, another thing that's worth mentioning as well. The majority of those films have great soundtracks, and that helps a lot.
Oh yeah, they know how to get your emotion out of it.
Everything's on point.
Yeah. One more thing I think we should mention for like the beginning of like for an introductory thing is, if films aren't like your thing, there's a series on Netflix called Mr. Sunshine. It is so good. I feel like if you want to start with the series, that's good. Bear in mind, some of the episodes are like an hour, 20 minutes, and you can't play it in the background. You've got to focus on it. But I think that's like one of the best series I've ever watched. It's so.
I think it's good for introductory. Yeah, I think you're probably right.
It's like
good for girls as well. I think.
Yeah. It's
because a lot of those films are quite manly when you think about it. Thrillers and zombies and.
But yeah, this one there's.
That said, you're a girl and you enjoyed them.
Yeah, I do like action though. I like action films. But
so if you're in the mood for something more subtle, perhaps Mr. Sunshine's a good shout.
It's not even subtle. That's got a lot of like. Yeah. It's got a lot of action in it. It does have romance in it. It's got friendships. It's a historical film. It's set in. Oh, I can never pronounce stuff right. Is it Joseon? Joseon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's set there. In the past. When Japan's kind of trying to take over and America's there, but it's really good. It's phenomenal. Like, I loved every single character. I think
there was a Blu-ray set as well. I was messaging my friend on it, this genius, and it sold out. Like, he actually thought it had not come out yet, and it had sold out already. And he's like he knows everything when it comes to this stuff. So I was gutted when I realised that as well. That's long gone. I really hope we get a physical media release of that one day, like a box set, another one. But I don't think we will.
Oh no, because I need it. I'll email them.
There's also another series the creators of that made, isn't there? Korean one.
Yeah, we've not watched that yet.
Which I want to. Which is more modern day.
Like, I mean, in the first episode, I think 10 minutes into the first episode, I was already like crying. Like, they really build a story and they build every character. It's a long series. I think it's like 23 episodes.
We got through it quite fast though, because we were really into it.
Yeah. Oh god, I wanted to watch like 3 episodes a night.
30 hours plus of content, that, because some towards the end were like 2 hours long as well.
But it was amazing.
40 hours I'd wager. Yeah.
So I had to like throw that recommendation in there if you're more into series.
Yeah, and then so if you watch all these types of things that we've just mentioned, and watch this series potentially, and you enjoy it, I think that's then a good sign that you can start delving off into more other movies. And I want to do another video maybe where we go through another 10 we recommend generally.
We'll have the beginners video, and then the intermediate, expert, advanced, master.
Well, I'm not going to start saying I'm a master. There's other guys I know.
We'll get a guest on. We'll get a master guest.
There's people I message on the daily, keeping updated with things.
We'll get a director on or something.
We'll interview Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah, we'll go find him at a convention.
Yeah.
Those are our 5 introductory films with a bonus series thrown in there. If you've seen any of these films before, comment below what you think. Comment below your favourite Korean film, what you like to watch. Let's share. And yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, all that jazz. Yeah, hope you enjoy. That's it from us for now. Bow.
You look good.
Bow.
What?
Bow.
Fudge your son.